Welcome back to Balancing Acts, and I'm pleased to continue our discussion with Camille. We're going to talk about the Leading Business and Personal Transitions program. Um, this is actually a collaboration between the WPO and Harvard Business School. Camille, what inspired this collaboration and the creation of this program?
So we've had a long relationship with Harvard Business School, particularly the executive education area. You may have heard, but others may have not. There's a program called the OPM program at Harvard, and it's a program that focuses on CEOs, business owners, managers of major, large, privately held companies. So this program, Linda Applegate headed up this program for many years, and she's been a longtime professor at Harvard Business School and a longtime partner of WPO. So we've had this fantasy a long time of doing a program, a shorter program like a mini OPM just for WPO members. So we started this program last year on campus, and it's a 3-day program really focused on business and personal transitions. And so using that Harvard case study model, it's a 3-day program, pretty intensive learning. And one of the differences between the other Harvard programs is everyone in the audience is a woman business owner, woman CEO, or president of company.
And so, the word transitions is in the title. So can you explain what is the focus on the transitions both in the business and the personal context?
Sure. So we found over the last number of years that more and more of our members were talking about transitions. And whether that was thinking about exiting now, whether that was thinking about a future exit, starting to prepare. And you know this, Linda, as an exit planner, as someone who works with people exiting businesses, that often you need to start thinking about that exit 5, 7 years in advance. So we were starting to see that transition conversation coming up, and whether it was leaving the company, finding a successor, private equity, whatever it looked like, those conversations were coming up a lot. We also found that there were a lot of our members who were sometimes transitioning into different roles in the company. We're seeing more and more in the United States women taking over big family businesses, multi generational family businesses, and stepping into that leadership role and having that transition as well. So we sort of look at it from all of the different perspectives of transition. So it could be stepping into that role of running a company you may have been in a senior leadership position of, but now you're becoming the CEO or you have become the CEO. You're transitioning your company, you're doing different things in your company, launching new products or innovations, reaching new markets, or you're thinking about what is that transition out of my company. And so looking at it both from the business perspective and all the different angles, but also thinking about the personal journey, because as you know, working with companies thinking about exiting, leaving your company or exiting your company is a huge personal transition for a CEO. And so that you can't disregard that aspect when you're talking about transitioning your company.
That is so critical. And for business owners, I am an accountant and a certified exit planner, but I'm also a business owner running a business for a very long time. Our identities are kind of wrapped up in our businesses. So thinking about leaving is something that you just don't want to do overnight. And planning for it can make a huge difference on the success of it for you personally and for your employees and this business that you put your whole heart and soul into. How would you say, like, for example, what's the type of case studies do they use to help people think about transitioning?
So we went through a number of different case studies. Some of the case studies were looking at more of the internal team side. So what a leader did or how the leadership transitioned internally to hopefully bring their employees to the next level, create more of a culture for innovation, a culture for change, so that the company, as they're trying to change or innovate, had that kind of culture within the organization. Some of it was looking at some case studies on the female leader or the leader themselves and transitioning personally, and it may not even be leaving your business, but just to continuing to grow and develop as a person. We did do an intense case study on a family business transition with the next generation taking over and some of those family dynamics. So we looked at a number of different case studies, and that model is so effective in that you get to analyze another business. And then through that conversation in a room full of 70 business owners, so much information comes out and so many interesting perspectives come out where you really just you learn so much from not only reading the case, but you learn so much from the conversation in the room.
Yeah, that's great. I haven't attended, but I have heard from many friends how fantastic it is. How would you say the program helps the participants maybe bring in their personal story or their own vision as a CEO? Because leadership, but you talked about culture, leadership makes a difference in how you're going to successfully prepare your company for the next phase.
I think one of the things that comes out so much in this program is the focus of your organization, is the mission and staying core to who you are and what your company is. And again, going back to culture, if you're not passionate about the mission, if you're not focused on the mission of your company, you can't create that kind of culture that's also focused on that as well. I just find that for women, or for leaders in general, that having that passion about the work you're doing and really that passion and excitement about the direction you want to take the company, what you want to achieve, what the purpose of your product or service is so important. And you just see that in the conversations around the room is how much that passion helps businesses take their companies to the next level, helps business owners get there.
And the sharing your vision so that and your mission, your employees, your whole team actually needs to understand the purpose of your company. We're here to serve, provide a service, to provide value to our customers, to our clients, whatever that may be. Really having an understanding of who your ideal customer is and what benefit you bring can make a difference. If you're able to step back in a program like this Harvard program and really take a second look at that, because things change very quickly now, um, that's going to help your team also feel a part of an important part of the organization and the wheel, so to speak, rather than just someone who shows up for work. So that's great. How would you say the program addressed the actual topic of exit planning? Did they share any specific strategies for what these business owners would do? And I assume most of them are not really close to being ready to exit.
It varied in the group. I mean, there was one woman who had to leave a little early because she was closing. So it, you sort of had every extreme. But one of the things I think that we've seen a lot more in recent years is talking about the exit sooner. And so one of the things we talked about in the business is you have to start thinking about that stuff. One of the conversations I thought was interesting around succession, whether it's a family business or a business where you're uh, bringing in a successor, you have a successor in mind, is the communication piece. And how often, one of the professors, David Ager, is a longtime expert in family business, and how often there's conversations that people think are being had and aren't being had. And so when you actually sit the leadership team down, people have different ideas of what's happening and they think they've been communicating, but they haven't. And how important in when you're talking about succession in your model, how important it is to make sure that you're having really clear conversations, that everybody's expectations are where they should be. One of the things we also talked about, Linda, is when you're thinking about selling your company, I mean, obviously making sure that you're thinking about it far enough in advance that your company is structured the way it needs to be and that you have those kind of experts involved. So experts like you, experts like open conversations with bankers, having people look at your financials, looking at your business to make sure that if you want to sell and what you want to sell for, that you're at a place to be able to do that. And if not, let's figure out what you need to do with the management team, with your financial structure, et cetera, to make sure that you can get there. Um, One other session I thought was great is there was a session also on getting on boards. So whether you're looking at private boards or public company boards, just how do you present yourself? Because often we have these skills, we have this expertise that we think is very valuable, but it may not be that valuable in the context of all of the people who can also bring that expertise. So how do you position yourself as unique? and as different and as able to bring value to a board, and finding those specific board opportunities that make sense for what you can actually bring to the table. Because you've probably seen this with business owners as well. It's important to start thinking about these things before you sell the company, because when you sell the company, you need to have other things going on, or as you said, your whole identity flips upside down, and you've got to figure out sort of who you are and what you're doing with your time when all of a sudden you're leaving this company you've been CEO of for 30 years.
And when I coach business owners on exit planning, I I really take the time to work through how they feel about their company and what changes they're willing to make. Because uh, even if you're a small company, you're not thinking about exiting. But when it comes to exiting, more than 50% of exits are actually unplanned and maybe due to a sudden event. There can be different reasons, there can be disagreements, there can be separations. But the important thing is to get your mindset in to thinking about how do you prepare the company for growth. There are things that drive the value of a business, whether you're even transitioning to your employees. What's going to make the business successful over time? What kind of growth does it need? What kind of profit does it need? And having surrounding yourself with advisors, because it does take a team of advisors. When we look at their taxes, we might want to say, well, everybody's working remotely now. What kind of state tax nexus are you having that might be you might need to look at before somebody would buy it or before your employees take over? So there's a lot of planning that actually goes into it. My last question would be, does WPO have any post-program support and resources?
Sure. So part of this program we do is in partnership with Wells Fargo. So one of the aspects of this program is able to develop that relationship with Wells Fargo and have them help you on that journey if you need it as you're leaving the program. Also, just creating a community of the women who've been there. So in 3 days, there's a tremendous amount of bonding when you're on campus in the executive dorms, you're living in living groups, you're getting to know all of these other women from, in our case, from all over the world. And so there's this community that's created where they've put together a WhatsApp group already so that they can stay in touch, ask each other questions, reach out to each other if they're trying to expand to a new market, and kind of find that expertise within the group. And as WPO, one of our goals is to be able to continue the program and kind of pay it forward. So we have talked about a 2.0. I'm not sure, when or that, if we're going to make that happen this year or next year, but I know that the women who've done the last 2 years of programs are really would love the opportunity to go back and,
But
get
that's very exciting. And we're going to get ready to, after exit planning, we're going to take a short commercial break. But I wanted to say that exit planning is something you don't want to leave till you're ready to exit. It is something, it's great business strategy, it's a great growth strategy. And so you want to look at it in advance.